Mad, it's not what I expected at all. Like, you had a big John Lewis next to a little cottage with a thatched roof. We went into this pub, and it turns out there was a fucking after party, so Jaackmaate's happy hour. Had an after party next door. Just tell me where you are, because I'm sat here on my own like a fucking loon. And he goes,
a fucking loser.
Like a loser. And he goes, boom, he went, I'm in the after party.
How are you anyway, lads? Any news? I've heard you went on a little
little excursion. So I've been quite busy since we last recorded. So me and a good friend of mine, friend of yours, I've known him for years.
Give him a shout out, lad, who is it?
Big Tyler
Ward.
Man, give him a shout out. So me and him went down to Norwich, of all the places. That's like a 4.5 hour
Home of Alan Partridge, isn't it? Was that Norfolk? That's Norfolk, sorry.
I was about to say, it's definitely not Norwich.
Or is it Norfolk?
But,
that's one of them.
Went down to watch the happy hour live podcast in Norwich.
How was it?
Lad, it was a laugh, you know.
Yeah.
And just a quick disclaimer before we get going. Right, I thought Liverpool was had the nicest people. People in Norwich, man.
Don't believe it.
They're up the lad.
You said Liverpool's got the nicest people?
Liverpool?
I think it's only proclaimed by Scousers though.
Yeah, like if you're not from Liverpool, you hate
yeah, you hate us. You know what I mean?
No, and they hate everyone. But people not we went down, everyone was lovely place. I couldn't believe it's a city, but it's they're quiet, it's quaint, it's weird.
I was gonna say I didn't even know it was a city.
Yeah,
and you're gonna have a cathedral or something to be a city.
I think that used to be. It's not the thing anymore. They changed it, but mad. It's not what I expected at all. You had a big John Lewis next to a little cottage with a thatched roof.
Yeah,
type
As
that's
whenever I drive through
mad.
countrysides and see those thatched roofs, I still can't get my head around how it doesn't get wet inside, lad.
Yeah, it's
it
weird.
Just looks like grass, lad, and I'm surely that's just if it rains, you're sitting in the damp.
Yeah, it's just it's going it's not going to function well as a roof. Yeah. But yeah, so really nice, loved it. Went down there. The show was good. The show was really good.
What was it? Just the podcast?
Yeah, so they did it was a show that they planned. And just did live, so they went up and down the country. So it was the same show, kind of like a rehearsed show. No, it was just a
podcast.
It was like live. A podcast, but a live comedy event podcast type thing. It was.
So was two comedians there as well?
No. So it was just them, but it was a rehearsed show. They did a thing, and it was it
was a bit more
yeah. So instead of it being more of a podcast every time, so it wasn't they went round and did 20 podcasts.
Yeah.
It was the same show they did.
But did they have a little podcast as well?
Well, no, they did a thing at the end where it was confessions.
Yeah.
So people wrote in, and then they did live reactions to them on stage type thing. So that was quite cool.
Did you write in?
No, but Tyler fucking stitched me up.
Why was it?
Fucking out. So yeah, so I've not told Sam anything about this because he asked me about
not.
it.
I've not heard nothing about it.
I was I'll tell you on the pod. Right. So, bit of law background. So, there's a story about Jaackmaate when he was younger. Was out in a nightclub, punched a fat kid. His own words, punched a fat kid. Tweeted on Twitter.
He punched the fat kid.
Punched the fat kid. They got into an argument. I'm paraphrasing here. Punched the kid.
But he said something else then, lads.
Yeah. So, punched him. Got home. Put on Twitter. Just punched a fat cunt. Then the police nicked him the next day and they were like, have you punched this kid? Because he'd obviously reported him, and he went, no. And they went, well, you have, because you put this on Twitter. And he was like, shit, right. So there was this whole story. Got off, all done. Yeah. So in the confession, someone had wrote in as a laugh, I'm the fat cunt you punched on that night out. So everyone was like, no, he's here in the crowd. And then Jaackmaate on stage goes, if you're here, say who you are. And fucking Tyler, right. So a little backstory about Tyler Ward, right. Is he's the type of mate...
He was not saying it was you.
So he's the type of guy, right, who he acts, then thinks afterwards.
Yeah, he does, doesn't he?
It either gets you into really hilarious situations, funny situations you'll never ever be in, or it gets you in trouble. So he just goes, so how everyone's looking round, he just goes, hey, over here! And fucking throws his head down. So, next thing you know, everyone turns around and looking at me. Because the people next to us are obviously looking this way, so everyone knows where to
skinny,
look.
So
everyone's looking at me, and I'm like, oh no. And it's like,
I've been at the gym the last few weeks.
And
that's
then,
not me.
So the guy comes, is it you? And I'm like, no. I'm like, no, don't speak to me. I'm like, no. And is it you? And I was blathered at this point. So the only thing I could think of, I just came out with. I just went, right, I'm gonna have to negate this quickly. So I just came out with, I went, lad, I'm a fat cunt, but I'm not the fat cunt.
Lad, that's drawing more attention.
Lad, just said it.
I am one of them.
I am a fat bastard, but I'm not the fat bastard. You have to. Oh, lad, and everyone was just like, oh.
Lad, when Tyler pointed at you, you were looking around, looking for another fucking overweight person.
Lad,
like, surely someone else is near me.
I could not believe it. I was like, fucking hell, he stitched me up. So then that was good. So we were on the beers all day in there, and then we went to a pub called The Murderers up there, which they talk about.
The Murderers?
So
there's a pub called The Murderers?
So it's apparently there's loads of murders around Norwich, and they have them all. So it's like this massive pub.
Is there actually murders around Norwich?
Like years ago, because it's been round for, he's been down south.
Where was Jack the Ripper from?
For London, I think. It's not Norwich. Anyway.
The history of murderers and mass killers isn't the best.
Yeah, it's the same. So we went into this pub, and it turns out there was a fucking after party, so Jaackmaate's Happy Hour had an after party next door, so they booked out half the pub. But this pub's huge, by the way, so that half we were in late in the morning, like we went to have a look, and we were in this other side. So I'm sat on me, like, so me and Wardy are sat there, we got speaking to this other couple from down London, so we're speaking to them for ages. And then they get off, and then Wardy's like, I'm going outside for a vape. And he's been gone fucking ages, and I've drank so I had that much of a pint, kind of, when he left. Oh, before we carry on with the story, shout out to the ship and mitre again. Thanks for having us. You've got to shout
Ryan just forgot a shout out there, banging it mid-story.
I'm doing a typical podcast, ruining a good story with a sponsor. Not a sponsor, but you know what I mean.
So go on then.
Thanks for having us.
Wardy went for a vape and then...
Yeah, so I had about that much of a pint.
Yeah.
And I was sat there, and I'd got down to kind of the bottom of a pint there, and I was like, he's not fucking chain smoking a vape there. So I texted him, and I went, where are you?
What's he been gone for 20 minutes?
He'd been gone for ages, and I was sat on my own, but you know when you're a bit pissed?
You're just on your phone or just sitting there.
You just kind of sit there, just boom, just in your own zone. And I clocked, I was like, he's been gone ages, so I went, where are you? And he goes, you'll never guess. I go, what do you mean? He goes, you'll never guess. I'm like, just tell me where you are, because I'm sat here on my own like a fucking loon. And he goes,
a fucking loser.
Like a loser. And he goes, boom, he went, I'm in the after party. I went, what do you mean?
Was it in the same pub, like?
Yeah. But they'd walled it off. It was a private after party.
Yeah.
So he goes, boom, I'm in. I went, what? And he goes, don't worry, I'll get you in. So the bit of the bar where they'd walled it off is he went, come to there. And I went, there's no way this is happening, because it was a walled off thing.
Yeah.
But it turns out it's
walled off with like a
like one of them like a sliding, wooden door thing.
Oh, right.
But he fucking, turns out they hadn't shut it properly, so he opens it up a bit. So I just scam through. And we're just in. And
you see Jaackmaate?
Yeah, we saw them all in there. But this isn't one of those stories. So that's where it's funny. So the way he gets in is he just walks through the front door.
Tyler?
Yeah.
Just walks.
And then one of the fella goes, because everyone had wristbands who was supposed to do it, and they went, where's your wristband? And he went, oh, it's in there, I'll get it now. They just let him in. So I pulled the same trick when I went through the door, and they just didn't say nothing. But then that's why this story loses its coolness, right? Because are you onto YouTubers and people like Zach Aslop? Who sneak into Glasgow and that, and it's all cool and it's funny. This is not one of them stories. So me and him just sat at the bar,
just a couple of normies.
Yeah, because we couldn't get a pint because we didn't have a wristband in the clock.
So you just sat there.
So we were stood there. So we had the 2 pints we came in with, stood at the bar, just being like, we just got in
the aftermath.
Yeah. So then he goes off, and I think he's talking to people in there. I don't know what he's doing. And I'm just stood there with a pint on my own, trying not to look at people because they're going to he's obviously not
Tyler
from around
and
here.
Sneaker drink, man. If you knew Tyler, anything like that, he just uses the talk, the gift of the gab, doesn't he? He'd talk us right into anywhere.
So then I go to the toilet and I walk out, and a guy off the podcast, a guy off the toilet.
One of
them guys.
Can I use your toilet, mate?
So he was waiting outside. One of the guys off the podcast, Alfie, his name Alfie Indra. So I walk out the toilet. I'm like, oh, you're alright, mate. But I can't fucking play on that I know him off the it's a big thing. So I'm like, you're alright. And then this is where I think it all starts going downhill. Is I get lost coming out the toilet, but there's only one way to go. The other way is the fire exit. So I go, you're alright, mate. And in a fluster, I just go that way.
You were all flustered and
I walk towards the fucking fire door. And he's like, it's the wrong way, mate. And I'm like, oh, here we go. I was like, oh, sorry, lad. Fucking run back in, just run to me pint at the fucking bar. Just feel like, oh, I hope they don't get us. So then, in the end, we're just in there. We go outside for another vape. Because he's like, right, let's go outside. Then in the end, they fucking clock.
That's a home in on Tyler's addiction there. He couldn't be in there for half an hour without leaving.
And then they clock us. And then when we go outside, they clocked that we weren't supposed to be in there, and we tried to get back in, and they were like, where are your wristbands and that?
That was it then.
Yeah.
Isn't that mad though? Like, if you're trying to get in somewhere or anything
Just
like
be
that,
confident, lad, and you
being
get in.
confident with it, and like just going for it. Like sometimes it doesn't work, but as soon as you hesitate and look like you're not meant
supposed
to be there,
like
people know you're
what
not
gave
meant
us
to
away,
be
I think,
there.
was the fact we were stood at the bar
with no drinking.
with a bit like half
Yeah.
a pint, just looking fucking.
I should have said, "Someone, can you get me a drink,
sheepish.
please?"
Yeah, but it just looks beggy, doesn't it?
Does I suppose like when you're like 60 and you go to town
Yeah.
illegally.
But like, so there's a story about
drink.
that. But I just so we snuck in to Jaackmaate's after party and stood at the bar like weirdos, and got off.
But I was just gonna say, it's like when you're a kid and you go to town like 17, you're like a year off being able to go to town actually, and like if you walk towards a club or something looking dead like, you know, sketchy, straight away they're like, where's your idea, how old are you? But if you just walk up as if you're meant to be there, a lot of the time you just go bang and you're in.
Yeah, lad, I just couldn't believe it how he just walked in and he just texted me, I'm inside.
That is
I went,
a lordy story.
Of all the people to get in there, of course it was you.